Author, medical doctor and motivational speaker Simphiwe Mandlesilo penned down his ups and downs and those his parents endured as they responded to the Christianity call in an honest memoir he entitled Confessions of a Pastor's Kid. Now, in this book, he takes us back to his 4-year-old self and how he was burdened by growing with pressures, the challenges and a fair amount of blessings of being a pastor's child. Dr. Mandlesilo joins us now to speak more about these confessions. Doctor, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Morning, Simphiwe, and morning to all the SABC viewers.
A pastor does not birth a pastor. Is this true?
Yes, it is true. If you know about pastors' kids, everyone, when you say pastors' kids, the first thing that comes to your mind is that they are rebels. They don't want anything to do with Christianity. Yeah. So in this book, I'm exploring deep the factors that are behind that. What makes the pastors' kids to grow up hating the church so much? That's what the book is all about.
What sparked that idea in you to start writing this book?
This book, it starts when I was about 4 years old. When I grew up and I saw my parents leaving to go and accept the calling, and then they left us when we were young, and then the things that were happening to us as we were growing up, it made me to see that pastors' kids are not just the same as other kids. They grow up under very difficult circumstances, and when they grow up, there are some things that happen at home. For example, the pastors, they keep on changing from one place to another, and when they change these places, there are a lot of things that happen that affect the pastor's kids. So I decided to pen down the book because when I saw my life and I was looking at other 4-year-olds, I was like, no ways, I don't think their lives are the same as mine. I think mine is different. So I decided that, you know what, one day, all the things that happened to me from the age I was from, I'm going to pen them down, and I know that it's going to help someone who's at home. And
having said that, when you look back and reflect on how you were raised as a child, do you feel that there are certain things that you missed out on?
There are a lot of things that I missed out on. You know, when you're a pastor's kid, you are treated as an angel. You are expected to behave like an angel. You are not expected to behave like other kids. I'm going to make an example. You know, when you're at school and some kids are playing and then someone will say a vulgar word, somehow when you're a pastor's kid, it finds its way back to your parents and back to the church. So it means that when you are playing and when you are doing everything, you always have to behave like a little pastor. You know, you're not a kid, you're a little pastor, like an angel. So you don't do the things that other kids are doing. And what happens with that is that pastors' kids, they grow up living a life of pretense. They are not themselves. They wait until they go to tertiary. And when they go to tertiary institutions, that's when you see the real pastors' kids. I mean, they go to parties, they open the circles, they start drinking, they start doing.
So is that the reason why they don't live up to the expectations of being a pastor's kid?
Yes, it's because there is a lot of scrutiny. They grow under a microscope. The pastors themselves, the community, the church members, all of them are looking at them and they want them to live this life of pretense. So what happens to them is they try to conform to what their parents and the community expect them to be, but it's not their real self. It's not themselves. They are not being real. And then when they go out and then they get a time to escape and be themselves, that's when you see the true colors of pastors' kids. It's more like they are rebelling to say that this is what we wear all the time. I always prefer that it's better pastors' kids show their true colors from the young age. Yes. The pastors know that, okay, this is my son. My son likes drinking. My son likes smoking. And then you deal with it at that time when he's still young. You can't do anything when he's 18, when he's already doing lower university and he's doing his second year. You can't do anything about that. It's too late at that time.
You know, there's always two sides of every story. I mean, there are also pressures and blessings and challenges that come with being a pastor's kid. What are some of those?
For me, you know what I love the most, what I enjoy the most was that you grow under this this atmosphere of prayer. You are taught about prayer from the young age. So when you grow up, some of the things that you were taught when you were young, even though maybe you might not have seen the value of them at that time, but when you grow up, you start to see that, you know what, at that time maybe I really didn't understand this thing of being forced to go to church, of being forced to go to prayer. But when you grow up and when you start facing challenges in life, when you start applying prayer in your life, that's when you start to see that, you know what, my parents, they really raised me in a good way. And also the other thing that I've seen, which happens with the pastor's kids, is that they grow up, they become rebellious, but somehow by the grace of God they come back. So they don't go astray completely. They manage to come back. I think it's because of the prayers of their parents and the prayers of the church members that somehow God, by his grace, he managed to bring them back, and then they are able to grow up and be good citizens. So it's got its own blessings. I mean, as much as there's a lot of pressures and a lot of things that are negative about it. There are also positive things about being a pastor's kid.
Okay, we don't have much time, unfortunately. You are a medical doctor by profession.
Yes.
So there's been heated debates about spirituality, about God, about science and religion. How did you manage to balance those? Just briefly.
I think with me, it also comes from that point that the background. So I was raised in a background of Christianity. So when I go for science and then they tell us about evolution and all those things, they don't affect me that much. Okay. I stick to what I was told. That for me, it's all about creation. I don't believe in evolution, unfortunately. Right. Yes.
Dr. Mandlesilo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, that is author, medical doctor and motivational speaker Simphiwe Mandlesilo. He's been speaking to us about his memoir titled Confessions of a Pastor's Kid.